We are back. It's our final segment this morning with Margie Quin with End Slavery Tennessee. And Margie, for years, of course, was with the TBI as well. You know, one question we get, and I'm not sure how much End Slavery deals with ever Amber Alerts or the like, maybe sometimes if we believe it was an abduction and human trafficking, but time and again, you have folks saying, why don't they put out that darn Amber Alert the moment the kid disappears? And I think there's few people in the state that understand exactly how Amber Alerts work better than you. Can you please just clarify for folks what it takes to get an Amber Alert as opposed to maybe an endangered child alert, which will come out first?
Yeah, typically there's over a 2-hour delay in the children notifying law enforcement that the child is missing. That's national data. Those are statistics.
Takes a couple hours there. Okay.
Yeah, so you're talking about a couple hours there. Local law enforcement's going to go out. They're going to do a sort of preliminary investigation, determine what potentially may have happened. They're communicating that probably to a supervisor, and then if it sort of seems dicey to begin with, and based on the age of the child, then the TBI gets notified. The TBI has to have certain things in order to issue, right? They've got to have a picture of the child. They've got to have the biographical data of the child. You can't just issue an Amber Alert and go, hey, there's a kid missing in Hawkins County. Right. Go look for him, and the public's going to say, well, what am I looking for? Right. Yeah. And so, again, this is time. Time passes.
But there also has to be a criteria on whether or not there's foul play and child in imminent danger, things like this. I mean, let's face it. We get calls here to the station all the time from parents. Oh, he never would have done it. 15-year-old running away. And, you know, we'll try to help if we can. But I'm up to the point now when it's a parent and police aren't involved and they're like, please help, he's never ran away before. I'm like, he's at a neighbor's. And later that night, he turns up. I'm tired of running stuff like that. I need to have it legit, because if you keep doing stuff like that, people stop paying attention.
They do. There's a saturation point.
Yeah, so you got to be real picky.
You do. But we also know that kids in a runaway incident, in a run situation, can be in extreme danger. And that's why it's important for the parents to report that to law enforcement.
And once we hear from law enforcement, things change.
Yeah.
But you know, and even with law enforcement, sometimes you can tell they're sending it out. And I've called them behind the scenes. They go, oh, this kid's run away 3 or 4 times before, and he's always down the road at the neighbors. And it always turns out that way. And I'm like,
right. But if it's a 14-year-old girl, for instance, and she's run 4 or 5 times, every time she runs, the probability increases that she's going to be trafficked or has been trafficked.
Okay.
And so we know that runaway incidents and truancy are huge preliminary indicators of a sort of dangerous trajectory for children. And so, but back to the Amber Alert question, yes, there are criteria. We're talking about under 18 years of age, you know, imminent danger. But again, some of that's going to be determined based on the age of the child. We have what we call a zone of safety, and as you age, your zone of safety increases. So the zone of safety for a 2-year-old is like the living room, right? The zone of safety for the 5-year-old may be in the playroom. The zone of safety for an 8-year-old may be in the fenced-in backyard. The zone of safety for a 14-year-old maybe at a friend's house, or at church, or someplace else, not maybe in the immediate vicinity of the parent. So as a child ages, their zone of safety increases. So that's one of the criteria. That's one of the things we're looking at. How old is the child? Where are they, or where were they when they disappeared? What is the likelihood that they have sort of just kind of gotten lost, or that an abduction has occurred?
See, a no-brainer would be if someone saw a car pull up, grab the kid, and drive away. That's instant Amber Alert.
Rare, very rare.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah.
A more typical case would be the Summer Wells case, perhaps. Reported. Initially, there was an endangered child alert. They were looking into it, and it wasn't until just a little bit later that they issued the Amber Alert. Probably because after they did enough investigation, they realized she was well out of her zone of safety.
She was outside the zone of safety, and the circumstances were, especially if you in the winter time and you have a young child, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, who we think has walked away. Obviously, hours count, because hypothermia is going to set in and the child's going to die because of exposure. We have recovered children in law enforcement that have been missing and out in the woods and things like for a fairly lengthy period of time, but it's not the norm. It's the exception. So they're looking at all of those things to determine danger. Now, if they are, I think sometimes the public gets confused about a child who's been taken by a non-custodial parent.
Right.
And why are we issuing an Amber Alert for a non-custodial parent? Well, sometimes that parent has a history of abuse against the child. Sometimes
there's a reason they're non-custodial.
There's a reason they're non-custodial. There's drug abuse or addiction. There's maybe drug exposure to the child. We see a lot of times parents disappear with the child when they're about to be arrested or custody is about to be removed, and they'll take off with the child. And so at that point, if you've got, say, a meth-addicted parent, a parent who's cooking meth, obviously you don't want a 4-year-old in a home with a parent who's cooking meth. So just because they are a parent does not mean the child's not in danger from them.
Sure. Well, we've seen cases where parents, just to get back at the other parent, hurts the child, which is horrible.
Yeah.
Do Amber Alerts stay in effect until the child is found or the case is closed, for instance, with Summer Wells? It's been a month. It remains. Let's say, God forbid, we don't have a resolution to this case by next year. Would it still be an active Amber Alert?
It would still be an active Amber Alert. And I think it's worth noting that Amber is actually an acronym, but it is named for Amber Hagerman out of Texas, who went missing in 1996. Her body was recovered, but her case remains unsolved. And hers was a witnessed abduction. That's pulling the child into a truck and taking off. And so it was at that point that we realized we needed a national response system to notify the public so that they could help law enforcement. If your kid goes missing, do you want 15,000 police officers in the state of Tennessee looking for your child, or do you want 7 million Tennesseans looking for your child? I'll take the 7 million Tennesseans.
Absolutely. Makes a difference. Hey, as we wrap things up here, if folks want to learn more, get more information on End Tennessee Slavery, maybe for their own knowledge, or maybe to help educate others, so what do they do? Where do they go? What do you recommend to them? You have a website and the like, or can they get involved? Yeah, they
need to go to our website at endslaverytn.org. There's great information on there, signs and signals, how to take some of our online training classes if you want to kind of dig in and get a little more. TBI has a great outreach website. Jeremy may have said it yesterday, ithastostop.com. If you're interested nationally, I'd go to sharedhope.org.
Sharedhope.org.
Yeah.
And in your mind, this issue of human trafficking, it's not tailing off? Is it getting worse? Are we making any progress in the battle against it? I guess you would say yes. Every child or person you rescue or save is a big step, but it's not tailing off, is it? I mean, there's still a market for it, and
certainly demand has not decreased.
The demand.
And so if demand doesn't decrease, trafficking doesn't decrease.
Right, and you can, and I guess law enforcement, you can help with the victims. Law enforcement can try, but I don't know how you get rid of demand. I mean, these people that seek this type of stuff are sick, and who knows what led them to be this way. I don't even know how you address demand. I mean, you can catch them and lock them up, or whatever, like these guys that were busted.
And we can't arrest our way out of demand, but we can do stuff like this. We can do Open Line, we can do MorningLine, we can educate the public, we can educate men. We also can increase the risk that they will be identified and arrested for this kind of behavior. So the more law enforcement is active in the field, the more we're educating the public, the more a man who's contemplating committing this kind of crime goes, you know what, this is getting kind of risky. Losing my family, my job, whatever, is not going to be worth it. And so you start to modify behavior.
I know. I wish you were right on that. And maybe some are like this, but you stand to lose everything.
Yes.
And they know that to some degree, like I said, To Catch a Predator and things like this show today. And yet that urge is so great, they throw that caution to the wind.
They do, but
because gosh, every one of those pictures from the person those arrested in Spring Hill, okay, I mean, they're stigmatized because those mugshots were everywhere, and mom, dad, wife, children, church,
neighbors,
friends, everyone knows about this dude now. Okay, and I know they're innocent until proven guilty, but I'm sorry, we all know. I don't know. They're going down, and
my opinion is the TBI wouldn't charge them if they didn't have the evidence to convict them.
No, of course not. We know it's all recorded and everything. It signs. How often does anyone get off on any of these stings?
No, rarely. But we also we've got to take these cases through the court system, and we've got to get convictions for them. And with a new law now designated these folks as predatory offenders, they will serve 100% of their time.
Good to know.
That's good stuff.
Margie Quin.
Thank you.
Pleasure seeing you, madam.
Yeah.
We'll take a break. I'll be back to wrap things up right after this.